In this video, I'm going to show you 4 different lines, and I'm going to use 4 separate colours to show you the lines that we're going to practice for next week's form. So the form that we're going to start off with is a form that you may recognise from exercise 44. But if you haven't seen it before, you can go and check it out. So it's really simple if you've already worked with it. And if you haven't, then it's maybe less simple. But we start off with drawing a loop coming down, then a loop going up, then another loop going down, and then a line coming out the form, intersecting, and then a line curving round and meeting the line where we started it. So this is where you start your first form that you want to draw, the first line that you want to work with. The second line that you want to work with, we're going to kind of embellish on this. It's really going to sit underneath, but I'm going to draw it next to, and that way you can just practice this form on its own to start with. We're going to start off by drawing, again, a loop coming down the way, and then a loop going up the way, a loop coming down the way, and then a loop going up the way, a loop going down the way, and then we're rising out of the form, curving round and coming down to create a loop. And then we're rising again in the form, intersecting our loop with a loop, coming back down and creating a loop, and then up to intersect, and then down to create a loop, and then up to intersect, and down to create a loop, our final loop. And then here we're back out, rising out the form and coming back to meet our line where we started it. And this is the way we're going. I can see my paper's slipped here for a bit, so I apologise about that. So this is the form that should really sit underneath here, and these 2 loops will be catching these 2 loops. So, but I'll show you that next week. The next form that we're going to draw, and line we're going to just basically extend on this line and this concept. So the next form we draw is we draw a loop coming down the way. I'll draw it a little bit smaller so we've got room for the final line. And then we come up and draw a loop, then diagonally down to draw our loop, and then diagonally up to draw a loop, down to draw our loop, and up to draw our loop, diagonally down to draw our loop, and up to draw our loop, diagonally down to draw our loop. And here we're rising out of the form, curving round, coming back down, drawing our loop, and then we're rising again to intersect, come down, and try and get a feel for how far down you need to come with your line, so that your loops that you're drawing here end up kind of roughly on a line together. So we're coming down to draw our loop, up to intersect, and then we draw our final loop before we're rising back out the form, coming back to meet our line where we started it. So here is where we start this line. And this is number 3. You can see I forgot to put number 2 up here, so I'll just do that. So this is number 2 we want to draw. So the final line, it looks like this. You come up with a loop, you go down with a loop, and then up with a loop, and down with your loop, up with your loop. And actually, this rhythm, if you haven't practiced this and haven't, again, been following the series, then you do well to check out exercise 23. So now we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 loops and they're going to intersect with these when we draw the form next week. But now, instead of coming down and drawing a loop and then curving out, what we're doing is we're coming down and curving round to intersect. And then we're curving round to intersect, curving round to intersect, curving round to intersect, curving round to intersect, and curving round just to meet up with the line. So this is the fourth and final line that you should be working with this week. That's the exercise for this week. Next week we'll put these forms together into one big form. See you next week.